Are you guys with Okay, so you guys have basketball.
All right. How was everybody's lunch? Good. Are you all refueled? You're re-energized? Yeah. Ready for the afternoon? Get all of your pillars in this afternoon? Everybody was purple this morning, but now we get to be really colorful. Yay. So my name is Camille, and I am the Pacific Southwest Regional Coordinator with Students for Life. That means I work in Southern California and Arizona. So is there anybody here from California? Yay! Arizona? Nobody's from Arizona. All right. We got to represent the West Coast. Who is from DC? Anybody here from DC? Couple people back there, yeah. So we're from across the nation. Who has met somebody from a state that is like super far from them? Cool. Yeah, that's the point, right? There are pro-life people everywhere. So like I said, my name is Camille, and we have an awesome talk for you guys this afternoon. I have with me Brad.
Thanks, guys.
So,
Appreciate it.
we were chatting earlier, and we were just talking about, like, what's the weirdest experience you've had as a pro-lifer, like, on the sidewalk? And he said that somebody threw a cupcake at him. So, it's pretty cool, right? So instead of tomatoes, we're throwing cupcakes now, which is awesome. I think it's like a compliment. Maybe you're just so sweet on the sidewalk that they were like, here's a cupcake, right?
Let's go with that.
So Brad started out leading and organizing the first Students for Life group at Lindenwood University. Yeah, Lindenwood, very low. He's currently working on his master's in healthcare, and his dream is opening a pro-life clinic one day. He is a sidewalk counselor for the Coalition of Life in St. Louis, and he's been saving children from abortion for almost 4 years, and has helped many, many abortion-minded women. He also has organized a pro-life scholarship program called #LifeSquad to help educate students like yourselves. So I'm sure you could ask him about it after. He can let you guys know, how do I get a scholarship to get more involved and learn more? So let's hear it for Brad. Next we have Denise from Alliance Defending Freedom. So how many of you saw the video at the beginning of the conference about Alliance Defending Freedom? Some of you. It started playing at the very beginning, so if you were like shuffling on in, you might have missed it. Alliance Defending Freedom is an amazing organization that represents students like yourselves. So when you're on campus and your First Amendment rights are being challenged, you have Alliance Defending Freedom and wonderful attorneys like Denise here to help you. She serves as senior counsel with Alliance Defending Freedom, and her efforts are directed specifically toward limiting the 1973 Roe v. Wade decision and ultimately overturning it. So she's right here with us trying to overturn Roe v. Wade. She's admitted to practice before the U.S. Supreme Court, so I think she'll get there, right? We hope so.
We hope so.
We hope so.
We know so.
We know, yes. We're going to overturn Roe v. Wade, so in our lifetime. Yeah. I thought this was really amazing. So, she served in the Air Force, and in response to the terror attacks in 2011, she re-enlisted to serve again voluntarily. So, this woman is filled with knowledge that we are so excited to hear about. So, let's hear it for Denise. Okay, well, I'm going to start us off today, and I want everybody to do something for me first. I want you to close your eyes for a second. So everybody close your eyes, and I want you to ask yourself, why am I here? Why are you here today? Is it because you found out about this cool pro-life conference and you want to go with all of your friends? Is it because you just heard that there are about 3,000 babies being killed by one organization in one day? Is it because you want to try and save those babies from abortion? Are you here because you know somebody who's had an abortion? And you don't want anybody else to have to go through the things that they went through? Are you here because you've heard these stories and you want to prevent everybody you know from having to go through this? So I want you to think about that for a second. Okay, now you can open your eyes. So what is your end goal? You found your why, right? Why am I here today? What is this all about? What am I doing here? What is your end goal? Is it to overturn Roe versus Wade? Is it to convince a woman on the sidewalk that she doesn't need an abortion? Is it to save all these babies? These are our end goals, right? So I found this quote. John Lennon, I'm sure you guys have all heard the song, it's the Beatles. Imagine all of the people living life in peace. And that's kind of what I think about when I think about what is my why. And my why is because when I was in high school, I found out that a friend of mine was pregnant. And we were 16, and she didn't know what to do. It was a really bad relationship. Her parents didn't like this relationship. My parents didn't like it. But she was pregnant. She was kind of excited. She didn't know what to do. And so we were like, it's okay, I'll be there for you. Like, no worries. And then we went to Christmas break. And over Christmas break, her parents took her to have an abortion. And at the time, I didn't realize how much this was going to impact my future. Like, when I was in high school, I didn't say, like, you guys are so lucky because you are here right now. Some of you are in college, and you're here, and you're like, yes, this is what I want to do. I want to end abortion. But it kind of just came to me, and I was like, okay, what does that mean? So we graduated from high school. I went on to college, and then I went to an apologetics training. So you all got some sort of apologetics this morning, right? And as I started to learn, I started to think about my friend, and I was like, oh my gosh. Like, so many people are in the pro-life movement to save all the babies, and that's great, because I want to save all the babies too. But the reason why I became pro-life and started really getting involved in this movement was because I wanted to help these women. I wanted to help them know that they can be empowered. And so when I think about my why, it's for my friend. It's for these women who have gone through this, who maybe didn't want to, right? Or for a woman who feels like this is her only option, when there are millions of resources available to her, she just doesn't know where to get them. Or she's actually gone in to places like Planned Parenthood to get all of those resources, and then she was lied to and misled, right? And so that's why I'm here, because I want to imagine all of us living in peace. How many of you were at the March for Life yesterday? Yeah. How many of you saw any of the pro-choice protesters yesterday? Were you guys in front of the Supreme Court when that happened? A little bit? So when we were in front, I'm going to share this really quickly. But when we were in front, we're like with our megaphones and we're like, we are the pro-life generation. We're like chanting over and over, and they're chanting, and then we're like, okay, let's switch it up. What are we going to say? What are we going to say now? Like, oh, pro-woman, pro-life, right? Because we're all pro-woman, we're pro-life. Like, yeah. And then they started chanting, pro-life is a lie. You don't care if women die. And we were like, what? And we were like, hey, ho, ho, Roe v. Wade has got to go. We're like saying all these chants. We're like going back and forth with the chants. And it's kind of fun. I mean, the heart of it is kind of fun. You feel a little silly and you're like, what am I doing here? But then, as the big crowd of all of you started to walk by, there were a couple of us there, and there were these two girls. And I'm not sure how the conversation even started, but she looked at me and she was like, you really want to hear my opinion? And I was like, well, yeah. What's the point of all of this shouting if we don't even understand where each other is coming from? And so we got into the conversation, and she started explaining the reason why she's pro-choice and why she's there. And I was just listening and asking her questions, and I felt like the conversation was really good. We planted some seeds, right? And I explained to her, I want to live in peace. I want to live in a world where we don't have to shout at each other, right? We can just have a civilized conversation. You can understand that I want to hear where you're coming from, because if I don't know your story, if I don't know your why, then I can't relate to you, to help you, to see what do you actually need. What do you actually need? So you don't feel like my only option is abortion. So you want to get into these conversations and listen to hear, and then we can have a world where not only is abortion, like Roe versus Wade overturned, abortion is abolished. Yeah, it's all great. We want that. We want that now. Get to work. Just kidding.
I'm on it.
We want that now. But we want to live in a world where abortion is completely unthinkable. Because these women know that these are all of the resources that are available, and they don't even feel like, oh, I need abortion to graduate. I need abortion because I have 6 kids and I'm tired, like I need abortion for reason X, Y, and Z. No, it's not even thinkable, because all of you pro-lifers here have figured out how to reduce the demand, and you've got it down. I have this for you. Guys in the room, it's not just about the women, right? How can you be there for a woman who is saying, I feel like I need an abortion? And you're like, oh, I'm a guy, I can't really tell you anything. How many of you have heard that before? You're a guy, you have no opinion. Yeah, well you do, right? Because it takes 2 to tango, sorry ladies, but it does. And so, gentlemen, let's figure out a way to stand up and say, hey, no, look, I support you, but let me support you in a way that will make you feel loved and that you can move forward and actually be empowered and rise above the challenge that you faced, right? So how are we going to do that? Getting visible on your campus. How many of you have a pro-life group on your campus? Cool. How many of you do more than 2 events per month? Ooh. How many of you think that people know there's a pro-life group on your campus? Some of you, right? Okay. So, how do we get visible? How does somebody even know that, like, there's this amazing person? What's her name? Yeah. Peyton. There's this amazing Peyton on campus, and she's such a sweetheart, and she is going to be there for you. How do we know that she even exists? Amazing Peyton on campus. If you guys aren't doing anything, right? So what are you doing? So I have a couple pictures here. I'm from California, like I said, so we have pictures from California where it's nice and sunny and more than 40 degrees. But, so this is at Biola. And at Biola, they have one of our displays. And it says, when should human rights begin? And so they just have this display out there, and they're right in front of their cafeteria. And so every time somebody walks by, we're engaging with them. We're saying, hey, when do you think human rights should begin? Do you want to take our poll? Hey, here's my phone. Do you want to take our poll and figure out when human rights should begin? Right, so you're out there. They know. Oh, yeah. Oh, I think there's that pro-life. If they were talking about when should human rights begin, like, assuming they're pro-life, because that's what pro-lifers do. They're always talking about babies, right? So, get visible on your campus. You can do that by tabling. Just get out there. If you don't have, like, an SFLA display available because your RC is down in New York City and you're all the way up in Maine, then you can make one yourself and just write a poster. When I was in college back in 2007 when I started my pro-life group at Colorado State, we would just literally get a whiteboard and write, what do you think about abortion? And just have conversations with people. And so just get out there, be visible. You don't have to have a fancy table. You can use a whiteboard. You can get a plain white sheet of paper and write a note on it and just ask people to come and talk to you. Oops. Another thing you can do are events of support. So this was in Northern California, and they were doing, it was National Adoption Month. And how many of you have heard of our event in a box? What? Okay, cool. So great way to get visible at SFL when you're a student through SFLA is you can order an event in a box, which is a free tabling kit for you with a theme. So you just reach out to your regional coordinator. By the end of this conference, y'all should know who your regional coordinator is. And so you reach out to your regional coordinator and you ask them, hey, what's the event in a box this month? Oh, it's November. It's National Adoption Month. Let's show the adopted kids on our campus some love. And so that's what they did. They reached out, they got the adoption kit, and then they were handing out flowers to every student who was adopted, or cookies to every guy who was adopted. Girls took cookies too, because we love cookies. But then they were taking pictures of them with cool little Polaroid camera, and then they were showing love to these adopted students. So people know, like, hey, this pro-life group is there, they are supported, they know about adoption. Let's educate people about adoption and distinguish the difference between the foster care system and adoption, right? Because they're very, very different. So get out there. Having a baby shower. This is at CSU Fullerton, down in Orange County. And the girl, where's my pointer? So she is pregnant, and she was one of the students on campus. And they met her, got to know her a little bit, and they said, hey, can we have a baby shower for you? So they got together, they threw this huge baby shower, and not only that, not only did they show that we're going to support you, we're your friends. They have a really good relationship with the group now, she and the group does. But they got diapers for her, and bottles, and bottle cleaners, and clothes, and like little care packages for her. She's got to take care of the mom too, right? She's going to be taking care of this baby. She might be a little tired. So they got her some lotions, and they just created this relationship to show her some love. But they were out tabling on campus. They were doing events like this, where they were out there and people knew they existed. And so they found this girl and could actually show her the support. So you guys are hearing about the 5 pillars today, right? And you have your different colors of all of the stamps and punches that you want to get. And so these are just some examples of ways you can get visible on campus. So in your fall semester, host a Title IX training. Did you guys know that it's against the law for a student athlete to be expelled or lose her scholarship because of Title IX? Do a Title IX training so people know that. Hey, abortion isn't your only option because you're an athlete, you might use your scholarship. You can redshirt this year. It's through Title IX. They cannot tell you you've lost your scholarship, you gotta go to another school. I met a girl a couple weeks ago who went to University of Northern Colorado, and she had an abortion, and the next semester, she got pregnant again. And then she learned about Title IX, and she was like, oh my gosh. She was a volleyball player. She's like, oh my gosh, I would have never had an abortion had I known that. And so she decided to go through with her second pregnancy. So host a training. Go to 40 Days for Life. Go and pray outside of the Planned Parenthood. Brad's going to tell you more about sidewalk counseling. Public policy. Do a fetal pain display. Should abortion be legal after 20 weeks when the baby can feel the pain? I don't know, what do you guys think? Help people get involved. You can do rapid response. Go and protest a pro-choice speaker. And believe it or not, you will meet some cool people, and you might have a really good conversation. Cecile Richards was speaking in San Francisco, and so we went out there, and we were doing our protest, and then this girl came up, and she was like, why are you here? And so we started talking. And by the end of the conversation, she and I actually made plans to go to coffee a couple weeks later. And we met up for coffee a couple weeks later, and she said, I didn't even really think pro-life people like you existed. I thought everybody was just a little bit crazy, honestly. But we shared our thoughts. Where are you coming from? Why do you believe what you believe? This is what I believe, and we found a lot of common ground. And the things that we have in common are, we support women, we want education, we want health care. We don't have that in common. And we were able to find those things in common. So, go to a protest. They're not as scary as you think. Supportive services. Do a pregnancy resource tabling. Let people know what's available on your campus. So those are just a few examples. I know you guys can see the spring semester. Chalking and flyering. Flyer, 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 flyer. If people are taking down your flyers, put more up. If they keep taking them down, call Denise. Right? Flyer. Flyer. Hang up flyers. Do you support pregnant parenting students? I don't know, but my friend is pregnant. Maybe they'll help her. Are you pro-life on campus? Kinda. Come and learn at our effective education training, Apologetics 101. Maybe I'll check it out. That's how I learned. Flyer. Flyer. Know your rights. Because if they're tearing them down, we're going to put them back up. Lobby days. Do a count for Sex Week. How many of you on your college campuses have Sex Week? Yeah, okay, just a couple of you. So on some college campuses, they'll have a sex week, and it can get kind of vulgar, and you're like, really? Is this what sex is about? You can do a counter sex week and bring in resources for parenting mothers and say, hey, this is what's available, just letting you know. So things like that. Some of you in high school are like, what am I gonna get into? College is crazy, so learn your stuff now. It's good for your health. So those are just some of the things that you can do. Your impact. When you get visible, I'm going to share a story with you about Jessica. And this is Jessica. She was a student at Sacramento State. And she had had an abortion. And she found herself pregnant 2 semesters later. And she was like, I don't want to go through that again. It wasn't a good experience for her. It was painful. It took her to a weird place emotionally, as you can imagine. And she finds herself pregnant again, and she just happens to be walking by one of our student group's tables. And so she walked up and she was like, what is this all about? And the girl explained what they were doing. And she was like, well, actually, I'm pregnant. Can you help me find something? Because right now, I just want to have another abortion. Because I don't know how I'm going to pay for school. I don't know how I'm going to keep my job and go to school and be a mom. I don't know how I'm going to finish school. These are real things, right? Like, imagine yourself for 1 second. Your best friend gets pregnant. What are some of the fears that she may have? What are some of the things that she's really thinking, right? What about my job? What about my parents? You guys are in high school, right? What about my parents? How am I going to pay for this? What should I do? What should I do? I don't know. I'm freaking out. Or maybe she doesn't want to have a kid. Then what? So think about the reasons why she's considering this abortion. And those are the things that Jessica was thinking when she went to that table, and she just started having a conversation with the student leader that was on campus that day. And that student leader was able to give her resources. And they became really, really good friends. And step by step, she decided, I'm going to keep this baby. And that's Stefan. That's the baby that she had. And she graduated with Stefan. She has her master's now. And she's married. And actually, Stefan is 6 now. And she has a 1-year-old son. So she was able to do it, even though she saw all of these things that were going to prevent her from her life. She was able to get those because a group was visible on campus, out there tabling. Be visible. I couldn't tell you that more and more. If people don't know you exist, they don't know where to go for help. And these are, if you go to pregnantoncampus.org, there's a table out in the front. So Pregnant on Campus, we have so many more stories of women who were helped on campus. And these are some of the pictures of the families there. She believed she could, so she did. Like, I am woman, hear me roar. I'm also really small and I have a loud voice. So, roar, right? But like, you can do it. You set your mind to it and you can do it. So don't tell me I can't. Like, the abortion industry needs to stop telling women that you can't unless you have abortion, because we can, right? Can we not? Yes. She believed she could, so she did. And if you guys get visible on campus, you can help her know you are loved and you can do it. You've got this. You've got this. Right? That's empowerment. All right. We're going to pass it on to Brad, and he's going to show you how to do this on the sidewalk.
So my name is Brad Baumgarten, and I have 2 purposes on this earth. 1, to end abortion. 2, to do God's will. And I'm so glad you did hand me the mic, because I also love to talk. I'm really weird like that. I can talk to anybody. I thoroughly enjoy it. So how many of you guys have been on the sidewalk in front of Planned Parenthood? Or either an abortion clinic? Okay. All right, cool, a couple of you. That's great. So in St. Louis specifically, we have what we call the St. Louis method, all right? And basically what that's all about is I like to look at it as we are the infantry and our pregnancy resource centers are the artillery, right? So when we're up there on the sidewalk, we're out there in the rain, the snow, the sleet, the heat, when it's like -degree temperatures out there and can't feel our toes and our fingers, we're out there and we're just out there giving hope. So what we do is specifically when a car approaches, what we do is we smile real big, not that scary, but we smile real big and we go, hey, how you doing, right? And so I'm a big hairy man and pretty large, so I like to get as close as I can to the car. It's like, oh man, if I hit this dude, it'll dent my car, you know? So I want them to get that like in their mindset. Those things will stop, at least they'll stop. So hopefully I think the big smile and the big wave will get them to stop, right? And then we don't even wait for them to roll down the window, we just kind of start talking. And we just say, hi, we got free pregnancy tests and resources for you, just right there across the street. Because we're super blessed, and we have a mobile medical unit across the street in St. Louis. And we say they're super helpful, and they're very inexpensive, absolutely for free. How can I help you today? Just like that. Because virtually we only have about 5 seconds or so between them coming into the clinic and from the driveway to the clinic. And so we give that little bit of just that pitch, and that's all it takes is that 5 seconds. How many of you guys are scared to talk to people about this issue, or it makes you nervous to be out there in front of the abortion clinic? Okay, yeah, a lot of you. So it's so awesome that we do have this technique because virtually anybody can do it. Anybody. My boy David Wheeling, is he in the crowd? Where is he? That's you right there?
Yeah.
All right. So, believe it or not, David's sister works with us at Coalition for Life in St. Louis, and she's a little bit timid, I'd say. Would you say she's timid?
Yeah.
A little bit? Okay. And even his sister does it, and all it takes is those 5 seconds. So she's an amazing human being. She's with us at a different place right now. She's awesome. He's a good man right there. So that's all it takes is 5 seconds. So virtually anybody can do it. So how do we reduce the need for abortion? 1, we need to know our resources. Who are your pregnancy resource centers? What do they do? How can they help women? And once you kind of know that, you can easily talk to anybody. And it's weird because sometimes people, when they feel very comfortable with you, they'll tell you just like, yeah, you know, my friend was pregnant, which means probably usually them. And it's like, my friend was pregnant, and all of a sudden, like, I needed to have like an ultrasound. Okay, great, yeah. We can go to, in St. Louis, it's called Thrive. So, we can go to Thrive real quick. And it's absolutely for free. Like, oh, wow, that's so cool, right? So, know your resources, number 1. That's what it is. Number 2, hope, hope, hope. Give hope, give hope, give hope. I cannot tell you how many times I've been out there on the sidewalk, and a lot of times, you know, it's cold, it's raining or what have you, everything's going on, and you see a woman come in, and she'll be like, oh, hey, how you doing? I'm just kind of nervous, and here I go, big smiley, big guy Brad, big bearded dude and stuff, and all of a sudden I just start talking to her, and she just kind of looks and she's like, oh, I can't because I need to continue my career. Or I can't have a child because it's very expensive. Or I can't do this because people will get mad at me. I've talked to so many people who've come up with every single excuse in the book. And a lot of you guys said earlier that you were in an apologetics session, right? How many of you guys were there? Quite a lot? Okay, cool. The more I talk to people, and the more I realize is people don't want to be proven wrong as much as they want for you to listen. They want for you to care. And if you give them hope, then they know that you care. So if you're out there on the sidewalk, like, I don't know what to do, here I am. It may be like 40 days for life, and here I am praying, and oh man, there's that woman.
Don't start a fight, verbal or physical, on the sidewalk. When holding a sign, attend to it peacefully and prayerfully. Don't throw your sign or leave it unattended on the sidewalk.
Nope, forget this.
Do. Let the trained Coalition for Life sidewalk counselors attend to the vehicles driving into and out of the facility.
I got a coupon for a free pregnancy test, STD testing, ultrasound. They're all completely free and I'd highly recommend it. Are you interested in any of these today?
Don't try to approach the car or get in the way of the trained Coalition for Life sidewalk counselors.
Hey, we got free coupons. Completely free and I'd highly recommend it. Just let us know if you have any questions. We're here to help you.
Small children that may be with you.
All right, baby Beauregard. Let's go.
Do it till after your time on the sidewalk to eat and drink.
How you know? Well, budget.
Don't eat or drink on the sidewalk during prayer or demonstration.
We're pro-life.
You're on the sidewalk. Stay focused on a peaceful witness. Don't get distracted on the sidewalk. Now that you know what to do and what not to do on the sidewalk, we look forward to seeing you out there soon.
Hey, Life Squad Nation, you guys are great. Thanks for watching. We had a lot of fun filming this informative video for you. We must remain mindful that what goes on here at Planned Parenthood is no laughing matter.
So this is just kind of some little pitch at the end for our people in St. Louis and stuff. Yeah. But so basically what I want to say, guys, it's not scary being out there in front of the abortion clinic. And I say this because, one, people see you guys praying, if you guys are demonstrating, if you guys are doing something, it could be fun. And we want to show people that we are pro-life and we're joyful and we're excited to be pro-life. And if you kind of walk around saying, all right, you know, this is a funeral, and which it is. I mean, there's terrible stuff going on in there. Don't get me wrong, but if people look at you and they say that people are very depressing, very sad, who would want to join a movement like that? So I just want to encourage you guys to get out to the sidewalk, get outside, demonstrate in front of Planned Parenthood abortion clinic. Bring your friends, pray out there. Have some fun. Let people know that you're excited, that you're joyful, what life is all about. And get out there and just have a good time. So thank you so much. I really appreciate you guys listening. Sorry for picking on you, David. All that kind of good stuff. So I will pass the mic on to Denise.
How many of you have gone to your state house to talk about pro-life legislation? A few of you? How many of you have maybe thought about it or wondered how to do it? You know, would I be effective? Would I be able to do something? What if I told you that over the last decade, the abortion rate in the state of Mississippi has gone down 52%. In the state of South Carolina, it's gone down 34%. In Michigan, 21%, and in Pennsylvania, 24%. And that many people who took a look at those declines and when certain pro-life laws were passed in each state, attributed those declines to the enactment of pro-life laws. So we know that enacting life-affirming laws in the states works to reduce the demand for abortion. And for that reason, I want to encourage each of you to know what's going on at your state house and to take the opportunity to go to the state house and to let your representatives know how you feel about legislation that touches on abortion. Since 2011, there have been 400 life-affirming laws enacted in the states. This has ranged from abortion bans. How many of you have heard of the 20-week abortion ban? Okay. How about the pain-capable unborn child? How about the ban on dismemberment abortions? How about bans on abortions for sex selection or Down syndrome? There have been a lot of abortion bans enacted in the states over the last decade. Now, obviously, we all want to see a day when Roe versus Wade goes away and abortion is not permissible. But each of these bans is an important step towards that day. And in most of the states, those bans were enacted because there was a groundswell of public support for this legislation. And that is a groundswell that each and every one of you can be a part of. In addition to abortion bans, you had states enacting abortion provider requirements, like trying to make these clinics not a dirty rat hole that a lot of them are. Because we all know that there are two victims in abortion, the unborn child and the woman who undergoes it. And too often, women are hurt, injured, or even killed in these abortion clinics. So there are basically two types of legislation that we see out there, what I call demand side and supply side. Supply side is those regulations that make abortions available somehow. Bans or regulations or laws that reduce women's access to abortion. And that would be abortion bans because they won't allow them to get certain abortion procedures. It will be health and safety requirements for abortion providers because that does drive clinics out of business because they either refuse to or cannot meet basic health and safety standards in many cases. So that's kind of the demand supply side. It reduces access to abortion. Then you have what I want to talk to you about, which is demand side, which reduces women's desires to get abortions. And there are several different types of those that I'm going to talk about. But what you need to keep in mind is that these really do have a tremendous impact on the abortion rate. I just mentioned a few minutes ago that since 2011, we've enacted 400 pro-life laws. Just since 2011, the abortion rate has declined 25%. So this is having a tremendous impact, and I really would point you towards being actively engaged and involved in supporting these types of measures. So the first demand side measure I want to talk to you about is support for pregnancy care centers. They have a tremendous role to play in helping to give women alternatives to abortion and to supporting them and loving them and helping them to bring their child into the world. And there are many states that have decided to support pregnancy centers with direct funding. It would be very easy for you to go to your legislators and say, I want you to support the pro-life, life-affirming, community-building mission of pregnancy centers. Give some of my tax dollars to these wonderful institutions so they can buy ultrasound machines, so that they can have more resources to provide to women. And there are a number of states across the country, including Missouri and Texas, that do this on an annual basis. But you might be surprised to know that even in some states that consider themselves pro-abortion, like California, they have in the past, in their budget, included resources for pregnancy care centers. How many of you have been driving around and seen Choose Life license plates? Have you seen them? Are you guys actually in states that provide Choose Life license plates? There are currently 30 states that have some version of a Choose Life license plate. And since we have started enacting legislation to make those available, we have directed $26 million to pregnancy care centers. So there are 20 states out there that don't have Choose Life license plates. And you can lobby your legislatures to put that in place. Because basically what happens is to get that license plate, you pay a little bit of an additional fee, and that money goes to the pregnancy centers. You can also enact resolutions to support the work of pregnancy centers. How many of you have heard the abortion industry's lies that these are fake clinics and they tell lies to women and they direct women away from the choice that they really want to enact? They mess with their mind and they tell them things they shouldn't be talking about. How many of you have heard that claims like that about pregnancy centers? There's a very concerted effort by the abortion industry to undermine pregnancy centers. And I will tell you that there is no greater compliment to the wonderful work that pregnancy centers are doing than the increased vitriol and attacks that are coming against them from the abortion industry. The abortion industry is scared of the work being done by pregnancy centers. And you can support the pregnancy centers in your community by asking your city council or your state legislature to enact what's called a resolution, which is simply the legislature or the city council saying, we commend the work of pregnancy centers in helping women and helping our communities. But you also have to be on the lookout, because we just talked about how the abortion industry is attacking pregnancy centers. They sometimes try to introduce legislation to interfere with the pro-life mission of the pregnancy centers. We have one example in California, where they are basically trying to force the pregnancy centers to advertise for abortion. They want to put up these signs on the walls in pregnancy centers that tell them where to get free contraception and low-cost abortion, giving them an 800 number which will direct them to Planned Parenthood, among other people. That goes against the core mission and beliefs of those people working in pregnancy centers. And right now, that law is on appeal to the United States Supreme Court. And we at Alliance Defending Freedom are representing pregnancy centers to get that law struck down as unconstitutional. The case will probably be heard in March, so just a couple months from now, and we would very much appreciate your guys' prayers for this important case, because we are cautiously optimistic, but if the ruling goes the wrong way, pregnancy centers across the country will be under even more attack. So please be in prayer for the justices and for the arguments in March. Informed consent. Informed consent for abortion is simply making sure that a woman understands the procedure, the risks, and the alternatives. Seems pretty logical, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Well, this is another law that the abortion industry fears. Because when women learn the truth about what abortion is, what abortion does, the risk that it has to them, they more and more choose life. And that includes implementing requirements like letting the woman see the ultrasound, letting her have an opportunity to have that ultrasound gone over with her so she can see how her unborn child is developing, to get information about how an unborn child develops. More and more information, women will choose life. And there's another important element to that, which is coercion. Studies show that up to 2 in 3 women feel coerced into their abortion decision, which means perhaps someone in their life, their boyfriend, their partner, their parents, their friends, someone else besides them is making the choice, quote unquote, choice for them to have an abortion. And there are ways that we can make sure that that doesn't happen. And women are told that they have options, that there are people who will stand beside them and protect them from that coercion. So informed consent laws have been shown on their own, even without in partner with other types of pro-life laws, to reduce the abortion rate by 10 or 15%. The more the women know the truth about abortion, the more they choose life. And protecting the vulnerable. And this includes minor girls and victims of sex trafficking. We need to make sure that parents are involved before a minor girl gets an abortion. We need to make sure that victims of sex trafficking are not simply given an abortion and returned to their abusers. So there are many ways that we can reduce the number of abortions being performed in this country. And what you need to keep in mind is each pro-life law that we enact drives down the abortion rate, drives down the demand for abortion, increases knowledge, it increases the opportunities for us to get to the day after Roe, when Roe finally goes away. Now, I know we wanted to leave some time at the end, so I kind of went quick.
Okay.
So we can have questions.
Okay, so we have about 5 minutes left. Oh, she gave us 7 minutes for questions. Well, that was very kind.
You're welcome.
I gave the intro and the whole thing. What is your question?
Okay, so you mentioned that they could put posters in the pregnancy center. Well, if that goes through, couldn't we do the same if they do that to us? Couldn't we do the same to them? If they have to, by law?
Well, one thing to keep in mind, I mentioned informed consent laws, and what many of these from a good, well-written informed consent law will require women to be told about alternatives to abortion, including the care provided at a pregnancy care center. And a lot of times that includes states have enacted laws that require them to keep lists of alternative to abortion organizations like pregnancy centers and to give women that list. So what we want to make sure is that states are actually enforcing their informed consent laws. That they're actually making sure that women get this information and not have it put in a little brown paper bag by the abortion clinic and say, yeah, here, look at it if you want to or throw it away. But that women actually have an opportunity to look at it. So we kind of do have that already. We just need to make sure that the abortion industry, which of course we can't trust, is complying with the law.
Do we have any other questions? Make me run. Okay. Why don't you stand up? You got this. This is what pro-lifers do. Get it.
So my question is more just like, I feel like abortion is more a symptom of a bigger problem. So why is it we're so focused on getting rid of abortion? You know, like, I feel like, I don't know, like to me, abortion, and she was talking about that at the very beginning of the whole conference. She talked about how like, you need to stay focused on like ending abortion, which I agree with completely. But it definitely seems more like a symptom than the core issue, if that makes sense. So like, why are we so focused on abortion? And this, like, I'm not in favor of abortion. Abortion's terrible, but.
That's a good question. I'll give them an opportunity to answer. But while I'm walking up here, why focus on abortion when it's the cause of a deeper issue, right? And so, something that somebody had told me once is when you see a homeless person on the street, do you tell the people who are doing something for homelessness, why are you focusing on homeless people? Why don't you focus on the real problem, that's the drugs? Like, stop the drugs. But you have these homeless people on the street, right? And so with abortion right now, like just through Planned Parenthood last year, there was 328,000 lives lost in 1 year through one organization. There are states like mine in California who don't even report how many abortions happen. Like, they're not required by the Center for Disease Control to report them. So we're focusing on this step by step so that we can get to the point where it's overturned, so now we're helping you out. It's a step-by-step process, and when lives are being lost, like, you want to stop those lives from ending. That's your priority. And so we can focus on the other things in the meantime, like, yes, go to your pregnancy resource center. Yes, get these resources. But stop the lives from being lost. I don't know if you guys have anything to add.
No, yeah, I honestly, I agree with you. I think you're right that there is a deeper issue that is there, obviously. Some people just don't see it as it's a life, that a human being is life. Or some people just have too much fun being promiscuous, to say it lightly, right? So how do you do that? And I definitely agree, saying that you gotta stop the people from killing the unborn babies. You gotta stop abortion. And then that could be the domino that topples the culture. So I'd say stop the worst thing first, and then let the dominoes fall in line. Does that make sense? Definitely.
We'll have one more question, and then
let you guys go to the next one. Hi. So my question is kind of similar to yours. Like, I firmly believe that even if abortion is made illegal, abortions will still happen because. So I'm Filipino, and in the Philippines, like, abortion's illegal, but it happens everywhere and all the time. So for me, abortion's a symptom, right? So does Students for Life America or Alliance Defending Freedom, do you happen to have like a comprehensive guide of maybe examples of legislation, public policy or practices, or advisory on like how to reduce stressors on women that cause them to desire abortion? Because like I know like I've seen a lot of policies that make it very difficult for women to continue pregnancies, like or just like the gutting of funding that reduces stress on women. So like I know like Printing on Campus talks about this, like they've got CCAMPIS, which helps subsidize daycare on campus for women. So do you have an existing, or are you working on developing a comprehensive guide of public policy practices and legislation that we can recommend to leaders in our community to establish to reduce these problems in the first place? Because honestly, abortion could be made illegal, but women will still feel the pressure to have them.
A couple things in response to that question. The first word in our name is alliance. And we work with a lot of groups who work at the pro-life issue from various respects. There's a wonderful group called Feminists for Life, and they really work at encouraging young women and giving them, for example, housing that allows them to parent and have their baby in college housing, and different things like that. And we can certainly direct people to those types of resources, because within the pro-life movement, we obviously all have a role to play. And what's important to remember is I completely agree with you. The day after Roe, what really happens at the day after Roe is that the issue returns to each of the 50 states to decide what they're going to do. So you're going to end up having a state-by-state battle. But the more we now put in pro-life policies into place in those states and educate people about what abortion is and what abortion does, the better off we're going to be for that day when Roe versus Wade is overturned. And the more we can turn our attention away from, for example, making Roe versus Wade obsolete, to supporting women in their parenting roles and in keeping their children and supporting their families. So this is a multi-step process with a lot of people involved, and you guys are the next pro-life generation. You are the ones that are going to take these policy roles. And so I encourage you to learn as much as possible and to talk to as many people as possible. Us at Alliance Defending Freedom, Students for Life, and we'll give you the benefit of our experience so that you're ready to talk about and engage on these issues on the highest level possible.